Okay, this is going to be a quick, really informal how-to on cutting down a tree. But first, a real quick disclaimer. I have been working with the round trees and dropping trees for a pretty good long time. So don't just think you can watch this quick video and run out there and cut down a 36-inch diameter tree. Start out little bitty as in a half-inch diameter tree. Get you an idea of what's going on and kind of how to do it, how the tree is going to fall. And this is something dangerous. You know, it's not something you just pick up and do overnight. A lot of stuff can go wrong really quickly, and people can get hurt really fast. But as far as an informal video goes, this is going to be a basic rundown and a quick how-to on what's going on. Alright, now before we get started, let's look at a couple little items of safety. Now this is really important when using a saw or anything that can possibly dismember you very quickly. I'm sure some of y'all have seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so y'all know what I'm talking about. You want to start out with, first thing is your saw that you're using itself. Make sure it's in good condition and all your safeties on your saw work and your chain itself is sharp. Next, make sure you're wearing brightly colored clothing. That's kind of a personal deal on that. That way the people around you know what you look like, what you're wearing, and can identify you if, say, something bad was to happen. Next, a good sturdy pair of boots. We'll start from the ground up. Good sturdy pair of boots. Don't be out there trying to cut down a tree with your flip-flops. There's all kinds of stuff that can hit your feet. Your saw could kick back on you and catch your toe. I mean, there's a plethora of things that could go wrong. Now, the next is the most important item that you're going to have, more important than even your saw, and they are cutting chaps. These prevent you from, say, the event that something was to happen, and a lot of times when you're using a saw, it is at waist level. If something was to happen and the chain was to hit you, the chaps themselves actually will ball up around your leg and kill the saw, make the saw die out and thus protect your legs. Next, pair of gloves. A good sturdy pair of gloves just to protect your hands, keep them from getting splinters and that kind of fun stuff. And lastly, a hard hat with hearing protection and eye protection. This particular helmet has everything in it that you would ever need. Eye protection, of course, from flying splinters. Head protection from, say, while you're cutting it, the tree goes to fall or something, and a limb falls out of it and catches you in the head. Never fun. And this is your basic safety equipment. Now we'll get into actually. Alrighty, the first thing you want to do is figure out what tree you want to drop and about how big is it going to be, and so you can start out with something standing up to something on the ground. So let's start out with the tree. First you got to figure out, make sure there's nothing major around it, house, cars, people, pets, all that fun stuff. And then once you kind of get a general idea, you can kind of figure out which way you're going to cut the tree. That being said, some trees tend to have a natural way they're going to want to fall. So if the tree's leaning, you always want to cut on the side that's going to make the tree fall. So say it's leaning to the left, you want to cut it so the weight of the tree is going to keep pulling it to the left. That's just going to make your life easier and less saw pinches, which is a whole nother how-to video on how to get your saw unpinched just to begin with. So what you're going to start to do is, once you figure out which way your tree is going to fall, we're just going to assume that the tree is straight up and down, no leaning, perfect, absolute magical situation. That way you don't have to worry about it. And we're going to say it's a smaller tree. So what you're going to do is you're going to start out with what's called a wedge cut on the opposite tree of your side of your final cut. What this wedge cut is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow the tree to fall and take pressure off the side of whatever when you do your back cut, your finish cut, to actually make the tree fall. Now some of my terminology isn't going to be 100% correct, as if you would take a Sawyer course or something like that, but again, this is kind of an informal video. What you're going to do is, once you have your back cut as in what looks in a wedge cut, looks kind of like what's in this picture here. Once you have your wedge cut made on the opposite side of your back cut, make sure you don't pinch your saw and make sure you have a pretty good sized wedge cut. That'll keep you from pinching your saw and a lot of other issues that are going to arise. Come back on the back side of your wedge cut, so the opposite side. Go a little bit higher than the peak of your wedge. So say your peak of your wedge is about 16 inches off the ground. Come up just a little, you know, say your back cut, make your back cut, I don't know, 18, 20 inches off the ground. You know, that way it'll have something to fall to. And start your cut. Now make sure you make your wedge cut pretty deep. So if you got I like to make mine at least halfway, maybe a little more if I can get it without pinching the saw through the tree. So you get your wedge cut, and you come back on the back side of your wedge and make it all the way through. Now, if you did everything like you're supposed to and your tree is in a good mood and wants to fall, it'll actually fall right away, just straight on the ground, no issues. Now, that being said, I've had them get hung before. And what I mean by getting hung is you have your wedge cut, you did everything you're supposed to, but the tree just stays there. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can actually take a tractor and push on the tree and make it fall over, or you can take this yellow thing right here, it's called a wedge. Put it in where you made your back cut, give it a couple quick taps with the sledgehammer, and the tree should fall over. Now, again, when the tree goes to fall, don't just stand right next to it and watch it fall. Get away a pretty good distance safely and quickly, because the tree can bounce up and it can catch you if it is a fairly large tree. I've seen trees jump when they hit the ground anywhere from not at all to I've seen them come up 3-4 foot off the ground. And then once you do that, you can proceed to dissecting the tree, as in cutting it into smaller pieces, using it for firewood, or clearing it out of a roadway or something of that sort. Same thing goes when you're cutting it down a tree that is already on the ground. Use gravity as your friend. So if you have an end hanging, don't come up from the bottom, come up from the top, and then the pieces will just drop away, get out of your way, and everything will be good to go. Real simple, real easy, and like I said, this is something that is kind of dangerous. It's not something you're going to want to just get a wild idea one day and decide you want to start cutting trees over. But as far as a quick video goes, this is a really quick informal how-to. All the pictures were taken by myself except for the picture of the wedge cut and the wedge itself. I did borrow those, but they were not copyrighted.